Hello, people. This is Eric Johnson, the brand.
And Aaron Thigpen, the source. Thanks for tuning in today. Today's podcast topic is going to be traveling and competing during COVID. Is it worth it? And what I want to do today is just talk a little bit about the chances, the rewards, the risks, and, let's sit down and do the math on this. And the reason why I'm talking about this is I've had quite a few conversations with parents recently about, we'd like to go play and we want to go play. Maybe we'll go play up north where there's fewer cases, or we want to go to Central Valley where there's fewer cases and get some playing. And I just don't know if it's worth it. I look at what it entails in terms of the travel cost, which, obviously it's minimal compared to having to travel across the country and other places. But to drive all the way out, a 4-hour, 5-hour drive to play a game, at this point, maybe your time and your money is better spent staying at home, as well as your health.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Aaron, what a great topic we're going to talk about today, because being a club ball director, talking to clients, talking to other coaches, talking to college coaches, talking to professional scouts, and kind of getting a survey and then talking to parents, I think it's more for a mental thing for the kids than anything, that we need to go play because my kid's going crazy being around here.
I hear that all the time.
And I don't know what you hear, but I hear that more than anything.
And I don't think that's a justification for, and again, I don't know where everyone is on this spectrum of how they feel about COVID and the likelihood of getting it and all those things. Everyone has their own kind of risk and fear factors with that. But to me, it's just like, for example, you got a 12, 13-year-old kid.
Right.
Why would you want to take the chance to expose him for a game that no one's going to remember and has no real bearing on their development or their trajectory or recruiting or anything? I mean, it just doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me.
Aaron, I agree with your point 100%. And I say it, why it's justified what you're saying is that if you've been training for a long period of time and you want to see how the training's going, then you need a larger model of games. It can't be like, okay, we're going to go play 4 games and the training we've been doing for 8 to 12 weeks is going to benefit that. It's not. A season of games, 30 games, 40 travel ball games, 25 high school games, 30 summer games. That's how you know what you're doing on the trajectory if you're progressing. You can't go away for a weekend here and there and play 8 games in the summer and say, hey, we need to do this train. It doesn't give you a sample size to figure out how you're doing. This is for a mental thing. Here's my personal opinion. It's for a mental thing for the kids. It really is. That's what it's all about. I've had at least 15 parents come to me and said, my kid's going to stir crazy. We need to play a game or something. And it wasn't for development. It wasn't for training purposes. It was for my kid needs to get out and do something. So for me, and the college coaches, they're in no hurry because it's a health thing for them. Their administration at their university is not letting them travel. And here's another thing that's going to go up. Travel expenses, hotel, airline tickets, it's going up. It's economic. It's going to rise. We had a low supply. We have a high supply of that, but with kind of like low demand. They're going to raise the prices up.
Exactly.
So people need to understand that is that, stay home, get better trained. It's no different than an Olympic athlete, Aaron, and no one knows better than you about an Olympic athlete training and waiting for the Olympics to showcase their talent.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, no one loves to compete more than me. So,
absolutely.
I get where they're coming from, but I just don't know if it makes a lot of sense in the whole grand scheme of things when you start to do the math. And I don't know if parents are really monitoring what's going on. I mean, I hear these parents talking again about going, hey, we're going to go up in the gold country and do some tournaments with some teams there, and we're going to go to the Central Valley. But those have now turned into hot spots. Why? Because you've got all of these people coming from the Bay Area who are infected,
right?
Now infecting people in those areas. So you can't get away from this. And I don't know why people are kind of playing this game with themselves. And I think parents need to sit down with their athletes and say, hey, you know, even if they need to have a coach or a trainer sit down and talk about, hey, this is what this thing is doing, and this is the best way to approach it. And yeah, it may not be ideal in what you've, you know, wanted to see happen for you this year, but this is the best way we need to manage it, and we'll help you get through it. But just to kind of arbitrarily say, well, yeah, we'll go because he's getting Nancy, or all the other parents are going, that just doesn't fly with me. It really doesn't, and especially at these younger ages. The only athletes I see that there should be a sense of urgency are those high school juniors and seniors. But again, you may be able to speak to that differently. But I know their window is closing, so that makes sense. But you've got a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old. There's nothing they're going to do at this point in their baseball career that's going to solidify any financial, educational gain later on. So why are you out there?
I agree.
You have time.
I agree. You have plenty of time to do that, especially with the younger athletes. And I'll backpedal a little bit here with you and say the juniors and seniors, although their window is very small, there's very limited events out there where coaches can go out and watch them play. If they're going to watch them, they're going to have to watch them on a computer, on a very small screen, and hope the camera gets every action they need to see if they're going to recruit that athlete. And I'll tell you one thing. I know a coach wants to be on the field, on the sideline, watching how that athlete interacts with other people, how they interact in the dugout, how they walk to the complex, what they do in between pitches, how they respond to their coaches. That has to be seen at face value, not on a computer. And I think people need to understand that. Be patient. Look, be patient. There's plenty of time. Even if this lasts a year from now, you're not hurting yourself in your development. You're only getting better.
Right.
And that's what people have to understand. Time spent correctly and doing the right things, you're going to improve. And I think that's where we need to really understand and grasp the concept of training and development of an athlete.
Yeah, I just think it's all money in the bank if you're training and developing. You just don't get to spend it right now.
Right.
You'll spend it later. But also to backtrack, you talked about video and that sort of thing. People, go back to our podcast on social media and how to affect your recruitment and putting your best foot forward. It'll give you some good ideas on how to do that in this limited environment.
And we're in that limited environment right now. I think people go back to that podcast and listen to what we have to say, because as we talk to college coaches and as we kind of talk in our environment of this COVID-19 recruiting period, we need to understand that. That's important.
Good.
Okay, with that said, Aaron, this wraps up, this important podcast. And back at you again. This is Eric Johnson, the brand.
And Aaron Thigpen, the source. See you later.